What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. Today I almost got the Genesis pretty much done. I just got to do a couple of things with an exception of the harness, but I'm just gonna leave that for the last video. I want to take my time on the harness, but I pretty much finished the motor. This is how it looks. I'm waiting for a coupler to do the intake and a couple of other things, but I'm pretty much done. So let me go ahead and show you guys the process. Okay, so I already put new bolts for the manifolds. These are Allen stainless steel, so I'm gonna go ahead. They're kind of loose. See, they're kind of loose. So I'm gonna go ahead and completely tighten them, and then I'm gonna install the sensor for the cam. It's right here. I'm gonna grab the spark plugs and I'm gonna install them. And I'm not gonna be using these valve covers, so I'm gonna take them off right now. I got a new set of valve covers. I'll probably install them right now. I put paper on the intake so nothing goes in there. So let me go ahead and finish bolting those on, putting the sensor on and the spark plugs, and then I'm gonna bolt the rest of the stuff on. Okay, so I already installed the spark plugs and the wires. I also put the dipstick. Surprisingly, the compressor fit. I didn't think it was gonna clear. It barely clears, but it clears. So I'm happy. I'm gonna be able to hook up the AC if I want to. And I'm also done on this side with the spark plugs and the wires. I'm gonna bolt on this bracket for the power steering and the alternator. I gotta modify the water pump a little bit. I'm just gonna shave this section because it doesn't clear the fans. So it's still dusty. So I'm just gonna shave off this section on the water pump, and then I'm gonna install it. Hopefully I don't damage it, but I have to do that. So I'm gonna finish bolting this on. I'm gonna bolt on the water pump, then I'm gonna bolt on the intake and the valve covers, and then the intake, and then I'm just gonna finish it off with whatever else I need to. Okay, before I proceed, I'm gonna install the oil filter. I'm not gonna crank the motor, but I wanna turn it over, and I want the motor to have oil in case it circulates. I don't wanna make a mess. So I'm just gonna go ahead and install the oil filter, and then I'm gonna add oil. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut it real quick, and then I'm gonna go ahead and install it. Okay, so the water pump is ready. I shaved that piece off. So I'm gonna go ahead and install that right now. I put the intake just to see how everything was gonna fit and everything is gonna clear, and everything clears no problem. I might paint this bracket black just so it don't match the intake, and I might paint the one for the compressor black as well. I also got these valve covers, and they're black. They're a 2-piece valve cover, so the coils go inside the covers. So I'm gonna go ahead and install the water pump, and then I'm gonna install the valve covers, and I might take the brackets off later on, and I'll probably spray them. Okay, so there's the water pump. Now I'm gonna go ahead and install the valve covers. Okay, so this is how it looks pretty much. So you put the valve cover, the coils go in the middle, and then you put this other cover on. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side, and then I'll show you guys how it looks. Okay, so pretty much this is how the valve cover looks once you put it on. Like I said, it's a 2-piece. The coils, they go on top of them, and it just has holes for the wires. Another thing, it has another hole in the back to wire it up. So I'm not gonna completely bolt them on because I need to take the top part of the valve cover off to do once I do the harness. So I'm not gonna completely bolt it on right now, but I'm just gonna put them on just for looks. Okay, so that's how the valve cover looks. That's how it looks when you connect the wires. So it's pretty much a 2-piece. The first piece is just the valve cover. The second piece is a coil cover, and it has holes. So it has holes to connect the coils, and on the other side it only has one. It's right there for the wiring. So I'm gonna put that one on right now. I'm not gonna completely bolt it on. I'm gonna leave it loose just for looks. And I'm gonna raise the vehicle. I haven't finished on the top, but I wanna put other stuff on the bottom. I already added the oil. I went with the 1030 for now. It's full synthetic. So I'm gonna raise the vehicle. I'm gonna finish a couple of things on the bottom, and then I'm gonna bring it down again, and I'm gonna start plumbing the fuel lines, and I gotta do the power steering, also the radiator, the heater. So I'm gonna do that once I finish the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and raise it up, and then I'll just do a couple of things I have to do underneath, and then I'll finish the top. Okay, so I already installed the bracket for the alternator and the power steering, but it's not gonna clear the hood. If I bolt on the alternator, it's not gonna clear the hood. And also these throttle bodies not gonna clear the hood. It's just sitting too high. So see, you can see it's not gonna clear. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off later on. I'm not gonna do it right now, but later on I'm gonna take this off. I got some brackets, some relocator brackets. So pretty much the alternator is gonna sit on the bottom, and the power steering is gonna sit somewhere over here on top. So I'm just waiting for those. Once I get them, I'm gonna install them, and most likely I'm gonna replace the intake too, because this one's sitting too high. There's another one that it's, I think, 2 inches shorter than this one. So I'm waiting for that. For now, I'm gonna raise the vehicle, and I'm gonna install these pieces. This is for the transmission to cover the clutch. This is for the like a plastic for the starter. I'm gonna install the starter, and then I have the sensors for the wideband. So I'm gonna install those right now, and I'm just gonna wait for the brackets. And once I get the brackets, I'll continue working on the motor. Okay, so I already installed the plate. It's this one right here. I also installed the sensors. There's one, the other one's over here, and I put the steering shaft. So you guys are able to see that now it clears. So it clears every runner. So I'm able to steer now. This piece right here I wasn't able to use anymore, because the other one, it covers the whole thing, and plus I don't have the bracket to bolt it onto. So I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. But like I said, I'm gonna wait for the other brackets for the power steering and everything else. So I'm gonna wait on that. I'm gonna be working on something else for the meanwhile. Okay, so I just finished adding the oil to the transmission. So I just top it off right now. I got some parts. So I got the bracket for the power steering and the alternator. So now I'm gonna be installing this. I'm gonna be relocating the power steering and the alternator so that it clears. And we also got another intake, because the other one, it wasn't gonna clear the hood. So we got a shorter one. I think this is like 2 inches shorter than the other one I have. So I'm gonna be installing the bracket for the alternator and power steering. And I'm just gonna put these on the motor and see how much space more I'm gonna have. So let me go ahead and bring this down, and I'm gonna install those parts right now. Okay, so here's everything I got with the kit. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the other one off, and then I'm gonna start installing this one. Okay, this is the progress so far. I had to switch the intake because the other one was too tall. This one's 2 inches shorter, so it's gonna work perfect. Another thing that I did was I bolted on the brackets for the alternator and the power steering. I was able to use the original alternator, but not the original power steering, because the other one, it's a different design and it does not bolt onto the brackets. So I had to go with the one from 2000 Camaro with the LS1. I also did the pressure hose. I put 2 AN fittings, one on the power steering pump and the other one on the rack and pinion. And I already connected the hose. So this is one end of the hose, and you can see the other end down there. For the return, I just connected the return to the cooler. There's like a power steering cooler down there. I just connected it from the cooler to the power steering. Another thing that I finished already, it's the clutch. So that's the custom line that they made for me. It's already connected to the transmission. I already bled it, it's working. So once I get to the bottom of the car, I'll show you guys. And lastly, I already got all the hoses. So these are like silicone hoses. These are like 290-degree angles that I'm gonna be using. So I'm gonna run them to the water pump. They're just gonna go underneath the battery tray to the water pump. And then I also got 2 radiator hoses. These are from Suburban, a 4.8. I already test fitted the hoses, and it looks like it's gonna work to the original Genesis radiator. I'm not gonna be using this radiator. I just put it on just to see if everything was gonna work, and apparently it's gonna work. And I also got a thermostat housing. This one's adjustable, so this one you can rotate it anywhere you want. I got this one so it could make it easier for me to connect it to the bottom radiator hose. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the cooling system. Then I'm gonna move on to the fuel system. Okay, so this is how the heater hoses look. So I'm just gonna run them underneath the battery tray and then to the heater. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put the radiator on. Okay, I'm gonna be using this Mishimoto radiator. I'm just gonna remove the condenser from the old one because I'm gonna see if I'm able to hook up the AC later on. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the condenser and then see if it's able to bolt onto the Mishimoto radiator. And then I'm just gonna bolt it to the car. Okay, so this is the old radiator. That's the condenser. And this is the new radiator. And honestly, the new one, it's a lot thicker. You can see how much thicker it is than the original radiator. So this is about 1/2 inch, and this one's for sure like almost it's more than 1 inch. So it's a lot thicker. I think it's gonna cool down a lot better. So I'm gonna go ahead and bolt the condenser onto the radiator, and I'm just gonna go ahead and install it. Okay, the radiator is in. I already bolted it on. So I got this much space. It's gonna be a tight fit for the fan, but it should fit. I already test fitted and looks like it's gonna fit. So I'm gonna install the bottom radiator hose first, and then I'm gonna put the fan, and then we'll see the clearance. We'll see how much space I have for clearance. It should clear though. I already test fitted and everything worked. So let's see what happens. Okay, so here's the progress so far. I pretty much already finished with the heater hoses. They're on all the way. And I put the radiator, I put the fan, the upper and lower radiator hose. I'm not really happy with the upper radiator hose, but it honestly doesn't look that bad. So it's gonna clear the hood for sure. And another thing I like, it's gonna give me space to put a colder intake right here. So I think I'm gonna run a colder intake, and on top of the intake, I'm gonna do a bracket to hold the radiator hose. And that's pretty much all I've done. So I'm gonna move on to the fuel injection system, and then once I finish the fuel injection, then I'm gonna do that intake. I got a lot of things in mind, so I'm gonna go ahead, like I said, and move on to the fuel injection. And then once I finish the fuel injection, I'm just gonna finish that intake, and that should be it. I should be able to start working on the harness. Okay, so this is all the stuff I'm gonna use for the fuel system. So I got Teflon hose for the E85. I don't know if I'm gonna use these hoses right here. This is for the fuel pump. I got the fuel pump over here. So this is a 450 liter per hour fuel pump. I think it's good for 750 horsepower. I got some fittings that I'm gonna use to modify the fuel pump. And then this right here is the fuel filter that I'm gonna use. This hose, I was supposed to use it for the intake manifold, but I'm gonna be using this one because this one's compatible with E85, so I'm gonna use this. I got the fuel rails right here and all the accessories I need for the intake. This is the fuel pressure regulator. So I'm gonna be using a fuel pressure regulator. This is the injectors. These are 1300. These are a little bit too big for what I'm doing, but later on, the owner of the car wants to supercharge the vehicle, so it should be enough if we ever supercharge it. Right here, I have more fittings. These are more AN fittings that I'm gonna need to connect everything. This sensor is for the computer. I'm gonna be using an AEM Infinity, so I'm gonna need this sensor for the E85. And this is just a pressure sensor. And right here I got more these are just some parts for the intake. some spacers and bolts and stuff. So this is everything for the intake. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the fuel system. I'm gonna start putting the fuel injectors on the intake and the lines, and I'm gonna modify the fuel pump and start running the lines. It's gonna be a little bit different because I have to put the E85 sensor and the pressure sensor for the E85. So I don't know how I'm gonna connect those, but it shouldn't be a big deal. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on it. Okay, I'm already done with the intake. I already installed the fuel injectors in both fuel rails. I also did this crossover fuel line and the fuel pressure sensor for the E85. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the intake on. I'm not gonna bolt it on, I'm just gonna put it on. I still gotta install the fuel pressure regulator, but before I do that, I wanna modify the fuel pump. So I'm gonna take off the pump, I'm gonna modify it so that I can use this fuel pressure regulator. And then after that, I'm gonna run the lines and maybe do the pedal. I gotta switch the pedal from the electrical to the mechanical one. And then once I finish the pedal, I'm gonna come back to the fuel system and finish it off. Okay, I'm gonna take the fuel pump off. You don't really have to remove the seat. You just undo the clips on the front and you just hold it with something. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the pump, and I'm gonna see what I have to do to make it work. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it off for now. Okay, so I took out the fuel pump. So this one has an internal fuel pressure regulator. I'm gonna be removing it, and I'm gonna put like a bypass or something to so that I can use the external one. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it apart. I'm not gonna show much on this because it's not a big deal. You guys can watch it on another video. There's a lot of videos on YouTube how to do it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and modify it, and I'm gonna put it back together, and I'm gonna throw it back in the tank. Okay, so here's my modified fuel pump assembly. All I did was replace the fuel pump. This is the old one. And I also modified the internal fuel pressure regulator. I left it inside. I just modified it so it allows fuel just to go in and out. I added this return fitting. So it's the black one. So the return is just goes straight into the internal fuel pressure regulator, which is not doing anything. And then I added this other fitting so I can connect the fuel line. So I'm gonna go ahead and install it right now, and then I'm gonna start doing the fit line and the return. Okay, I'm already done installing the fuel pump. I already run one of the fuel lines. This is gonna be for the return. I removed the old fit line, so that's the fit line, and I'm just running the return where the fit line used to be. I'm gonna finish right now. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and install the pedal, the mechanical pedal, and then I'm gonna finish the return, and then I'm gonna start working on the fit line. Okay, this is the bracket that I made for my pedal. This is the pedal I'm gonna use. This is a Toyota pedal, and I'm gonna be using this throttle cable. Should be long enough for this this motor. So pretty much the pedal is gonna bolt onto the bracket, and the bracket is gonna bolt onto the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and install it right now. Okay, so I'm already done with the pedal. That's how it came out. And I just gotta do a bracket for the throttle cable. So it comes out the firewall. And to the throttle body. So like I said, I'm just gonna do a bracket for the throttle cable, and that's it. I'm gonna go back to the fuel injection. Okay, so I'm working on the throttle cable bracket. I'm almost done. So this is what I did. I just did a bracket that this is gonna bolt onto the head, and the other piece is gonna bolt onto the fuel rail. So I gotta finish welding it. It's not welded, so I'm gonna finish welding it on right now. I'm gonna paint it. Then, like I said, I'm gonna go back to the fuel system. Okay, so that's how it looks. So that's the little bracket I made, and that's pretty much how it's gonna look. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish doing the plumbing for the fuel pressure regulator, and that should be it. Next step is gonna be doing the harness. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with the fuel system. So I run two hoses. The one outside of the plastic, it's the fit line, and the one inside, it's gonna be the return. I run this one outside because I'm gonna be servicing the fuel filter, or the owner of the vehicle, whenever he needs to service it, he can just take it off. And then the one inside, you don't have to service anything. So I just run them all the way to the top. I run them inside the heat shield. So let me go ahead and show you guys the top. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with the fuel system. On the front, I just did a crossover line from one fuel rail to the other one. On the back, I connected the sensor. And on this side, I just connected it directly to the pressure regulator. And then I got two lines. That one's the return. This one right here, that's the feed line. And then this is the E85 sensor. So I'm pretty much done with the car. All I gotta do is just finish that intake. And I gotta connect the vacuum hose on the booster and on the fuel pressure regulator. But that's pretty much it. And I also have to do the harness, but that's gonna be for another video. So that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully I'll get this thing done pretty soon. As soon as I finish the harness, I'll just bring another video. Thank you for watching.